She is the commander of the 109th Force Support Squadron at the Stratton Air National Guard Base in Scotia, New York. Is anyone from that area?
Yay!
As such, she manages and directs on all aspects of human resources, training, manpower, force development, recruiting, retention, personnel customer service, readiness, and sustainment services. Her office directly supports the Wayne Standing Mission in support of the National Science Foundation with annual deployments to Antarctica and Greenland, as well as defense support to civil authorities and wartime castings. She is a graduate of the State University of New York at Buffalo.
Yay!
And Albany Law School. Anyone from Albany? She was admitted to the New York and Connecticut bars in 1982. Lieutenant Colonel Lennard received a direct commission as an Air Force Judge Advocate upon graduation from Albany Law School in 1982. While on active duty, she served as Assistant Chief of Military Justice and Chief of Civil Law and Legal Assistance at Kessler AFB MS and at Travis AFB CA, and also served as a member of the Base Honor Guard while at Kessler. As a reservist, Lieutenant Colonel Lennard served as an Assistant Staff Judge Advocate at Wing, Numbered Air Force, and Major Command levels. While a reservist, she also served as the, how do you say that? Did you say the letters? PACAF?
PACAF. Pacific Air Forces.
Pacific Air Force. Junior Officer Council Reservist in 1998 to 1999, and later acted as the Reserve Executive Officer for the Civil Law Division of the Air Force Legal Services Agency in 2001. She transferred from the Air Force Reserve to the Air National Guard in 2004 and served as a judge advocate until 2012. Lieutenant Colonel is married to Bruce Lennard, Lieutenant Colonel ASAF, who is retired. They have 4 children, Hank, David, Noel, and Nathan, and Noel is here today. So we welcome back Lieutenant Colonel Lennard.
Thank you. Good morning. Well, it looks like my job today, you guys are already so excited. I just want to make sure that I don't put you to sleep. So I understand you guys have representatives from each of your counties, right?
County executives.
County executives. Okay, so all county executives, raise your hand. You're down here. We start every morning in the military with calisthenics. I'm up at 5:30 every morning. So county executives, you're down here. 10 push-ups. That's your first task. I've been in the military for 21 years. Every year I have to take a physical education test, so I have to run a mile and a half, I have to do a certain number of push-ups, I have to do a certain number of sit-ups. So I'm 47, I still have to do 40 push-ups, so I'm just saying, gotta be in shape if you want to be in the military. It's a good deal. All right, so good morning, and thank you very much for letting me come here. Oh, I need a microphone, I'm not that loud. Is that better? happy to have this opportunity to talk with all of you. As Susan said, I'm from the 109th Airlift Wing in Scotia, New York. Here's just a couple of pictures. This is one of our C-130s down in Antarctica, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about our mission later on. But you guys are so exciting. I'm so impressed with you. As she mentioned also, I have 4 kids. One of them is a junior also. I am amazed at how smart you guys are. I don't think I knew as much as you, or I was involved as much as you guys were when I was a junior. He is the same way. You guys are totally impressive, and I'm excited. You guys are like the exciting part of our country, really. So, who's looking forward to their senior year? Right, senior year is totally awesome because you guys really know what you're doing now, right? You're into your sports, you're into your music, you know the things that you are starting to love. And so it's going to be a great year. And before I go on, I just have to say one thing. Judge Advocate is a lawyer. So I'm a lawyer. I'm currently acting as a commander, so I'm not in a legal capacity right now. However, there are very strict ethics laws in the Department of Defense, so I just want to give a disclaimer this morning that I'm here on behalf of myself, Christine Lennard, as an attorney and a mom and a woman leader in the Air Force, but I am not speaking on behalf of the Department of Defense, so that's my disclaimer that I have to give for legal purposes. Okay, so this slide is kind of like what you guys are this morning. We always try to keep spirit going, and this is just a picture of my life right now. You can't really see me, but I am the one, well, there's a big sign there that says services, and you can't see it, but there's a giant, what is it called, the thing that, a whisk, a giant whisk. Yeah, okay, so she said that I do sustainment services too. What that is, it's making sure all my people are fed, and they all have a bed, and they all have a place to go work out. So I have my giant whisk there, and this is my team. We were cheering on people in our squadron who got promoted to tech sergeant, and this was us winning the Spirit Award. Okay. All right, okay. So, why am I here to talk with you? I'm here for the same reason that some of the other women are going to come to talk to you, just to give you an idea of what a woman can do, how to be a leader on whatever scale. You may be a world leader, you may be a local leader, you may be a leader in your home, but you always have the opportunity to say what you mean, follow through on your actions, and have integrity, and anybody that has integrity is a leader, in my book. Okay, so I have a question for you guys. Who here loves science? Who's a science person? Okay, this is my love. All right. I know not everybody loves science. How about, that's very broad too. Like chemistry, who's a chemistry person? Yeah. All right. Who's a bio person? Okay, how about math? Do you have any math? Nice. Okay, well, there's other things too. Who's into fashion and design? You guys, okay? That's complicated. That takes math, and a really beautiful eye. You have to be very artistic. So there's so many things that you can get out there and get involved in. And I was a science girl, and I thought I was really into the environment, and I thought I was going to be an environmental attorney one day. But here I am as a senior. This was made a long time ago, and like I said, I love the environment, but I was also a culture girl. I loved other cultures. So, who's already traveled a lot? Anybody traveled? Where have you guys been? France and Mexico. How about you? Guatemala. Wow. Okay, so you guys are way in the back. You with your hand up still. Rome? Awesome. All over Europe. Wow, see, you guys it's just great. How about you? Costa Rica. Okay, well, this was me in Morocco, because I wanted to travel a little bit before I went to college, so I decided to go to Spain and Morocco. That's where my high school was offering a trip, and I had to pay for it myself. My parents couldn't pay for it, so I had to save all my babysitting money. And this is where I went before I went off to SUNY Buffalo to study chemistry. So there I went to SUNY Buffalo to study chemistry, which I loved until I got to physical chemistry. Anybody ever taken P-Chem? No, any of the older ladies ever took P-Chem? Okay, drastic subject, right? It's a horrid subject. Oh my gosh. So I did great in organic chemistry. Who does good in organic chemistry? Yeah, all right, good. Then you get to P-Chem and it all fell apart for me. So here I was, 2.5 years into, well 2 years really, into my chemistry degree, and I hate P-Chem and I have to take another subject, another semester of this, and what am I going to do? Because my father's going to say I wasted 2 years of this good money at SUNY Buffalo. Luckily, I didn't panic. I panicked a little, and I found a good professor. And this is, this is a little leadership thing. This is internal. This is your self-leadership. I found a good professor. We reworked my program, and now I'm responsible for the environmental chemistry program at SUNY Buffalo. So that was born in 1988 to 89. I graduated in 89, so it was born in 1988. And so that was how I ended up there. And so I thought I was going to be an environmental lawyer. Where am I? But it didn't necessarily, not everything necessarily goes the way that you think it's going to go. And why did I think I had my pictures mixed up. Well, as I said, I didn't love chemistry. I thought I was going to be an environmental attorney, and I realized that I was probably going to have to change my direction a little bit. And so I decided to go to law school, like I said, but I wasn't focused on environmental. I was just doing a broad general education. And I knew, how many hours does it take to become an expert at something? Who knows that general? 10,000 hours, right? So it doesn't, becoming an expert at something just doesn't happen just because you love it. And that was kind of what I was faced with. Why this picture? Of course, pilots, obviously, you want them to be very experienced. And I graduated from SUNY Buffalo, and I decided to go to law school. And this, by the way, is a friend of mine who has kind of roped me into being here today. But when I got to law school, there was not a lot of opportunities to go off and become an environmental attorney, and then I got sidetracked by the recruiters who came to the base, or came to the law school. And I had always wanted to be in the military, but in high school, when all of the kids were signing up for the ROTC scholarships, I got the idea that it wasn't for me somehow. I was smart, I was doing good in school, but somehow they weren't targeting me for a scholarship, my counselors. So I didn't think I was smart enough, and I didn't think I could do it. Well, I did meet with the recruiters when I was in law school, and after waiting about 3 months after my interview, they called me from Washington, D.C., and they said that I had been hired and I was going into the Air Force Judge Advocate General's Corps. And that was really the most exciting day of my life. It was awesome. So, I go from being just someone at the law school, not knowing where I was going, and then I get to put on the uniform. And they sent us for some great training. I went down to Lackland Air Force Base. They call us the 2-week wonders because I am a direct appointee. So it took 2 weeks. I had to learn how to put on the uniform, stand properly, salute, do my about faces, and after 2 weeks I was blessed. But the reality was that my parents taught me to be a certain person. It's all probably part and parcel of what you guys are learning here, what you're learning at your own homes. Like I said before, you do what you say you're going to do. You follow through. You have a loving attitude towards people. And that is
what our core values in the Air Force are about, which are integrity, excellence, and service before self. So this is just me. We got to go to Washington, D.C., and then this was at Lackland Air Force Base, where I was learning my 2-week wonder course, and those are some of my silly friends that also came in at the same time. It was great, and I'm still friends with these people, kind of like you guys will probably, you'll meet people here and you'll be friends with them for the rest of your life. Okay, so here is us graduating from the Judge Advocate School, the Judge Advocate Staff Officer course at Maxwell Air Force Base. They sent us for 2.5 months of intense legal training. So I learned the gamut of what I was going to be practicing in the Air Force. So I was effectively a corporate attorney for the Air Force, and I was immediately put into trial practice, practicing criminal procedure, client counseling, dealing with wills, trusts, estates, pretty much anything any attorney has to study. That's what I studied, because we have to do everything for everybody. The unique part of it was also we dealt with international law of armed conflict, targeting proper targets, not improper targets. So, you know, most attorneys don't deal with law of war, but we also had to study law of war. So in my first year as an attorney, when I went to my first base, it was at Keesler Air Force Base. There, the chief of military justice was a female. The chief of civil law was a female. My staff judge advocate was a male. He left after a year, and my staff judge advocate, a full for 06, was a female. A lot of good, strong females in the Air Force. And I know the Air Force has kind of had some bad times recently with questions about sexual assault and things like that, but my experience was awesome. I've never had any problem, I have a lot of respect, and I have a lot of respect for my peers. So what did I do in my first year? My first year, I was an advisor to commanders all over the base about military discipline. So I handled small criminal cases, larcenies, marijuana use, drug use. We had some sexual assaults that we dealt with, but those, unfortunately, really were more of civilians and dependent children. In my second year, I had to sit as a first seat. So I was running the trial myself, from dealing with the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, the investigators, all the way through case preparation, motion practice, being in front of the judge, doing the whole case all by myself. There is pretty much no law firm that's going to allow you to do that, except for maybe if you're with a local district attorney office, where you'd be practicing that kind of thing, if you're interested in being an attorney or a trial attorney. So pretty much, I did everything. So I was at Keesler Air Force Base for 2 years, and after that, I moved over to Travis Air Force Base in California, and they made me the chief of civil law when I was there. However, that was 1990. I went in 1992. In 1995, I had my first child, Hank. There's Hanky Puff. He's currently 19, and he's actually in the active duty Air Force now. He is a client systems technology person, so he handles computers, and he makes sure that people's software is working properly. So I had him in 1995, and when I moved to California, I was still keeping him in a daycare, but I was still practicing full time. And I loved it. Here I am at my first base, that's Colonel Schneiderman, and getting one of my first medals, and that's in our courtroom. That courtroom, I had a very interesting case there, a funny case. So we don't have drugs in the military. Okay, we are against drugs. Anybody know why we're not smoking pot and using cocaine in the military? Just one person here. Give me a reason. You spoke up. Did you say something? No. Who said something? It's unhealthy. Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead. It compromises your mental capacity. Exactly. It's not safe, right? We're flying planes, for goodness sake, right? I can't have a high guy flying an F-16. Forget about it. Or we're packing parachutes. You know, we have to be completely solid because we have lives on the line. So a funny story. in California, we had 3 kids who were charged with using marijuana. They were young, they were 18, 19, just out of tech school, and 2 of them had already pled guilty. I had the 3rd person, and my person, the prosecutor wanted to have a full-blown trial. They didn't want to just settle it, and that was fine. I had to do all my research. So I did all my research, and I drove up to Beale Air Force Base, which is in Northern California. We were at Travis, which is near San Francisco, and I talked to the young man. And I said, you know, I went to the investigators, and I looked at your file, and I don't see any results on the testing of the drug that you used. And it's really strange, you know, what did you guys do? And he's like, well, I don't know what happened. So I went back to the investigators, and I said, okay, I need to get the results. Oh, it was never tested, ma'am. Okay, well, fine, get the testing done. They get the testing done, it doesn't come back as positive marijuana. How strange that is. So back up to Beale Air Force Base to talk to this young man again. I said, where did you get this marijuana that you used? He's like, well, you know, we were driving out in the field somewhere, Highway 1, I don't know, and we, you know, we decided just to pull over and get some grass. So we pulled over and they got some dried grass, and then they took it home and they smoked it. And I'm like, dude, that's not pot. So he's like, oh, so anyhow, 2 people went to jail, and my guy disclosed that, you know, he kind of blew the lid off of everything. We had to get 2 people back out of jail. And so, but, you know, you have to persist at everything you do, right? You want to make sure that you don't go halfway through a story, right? You got to go all the way through the story to find out what's really going on. And that's important for you guys, because you're writing bills and you're doing legislation. You want to make sure that you got all the bases covered. Anyhow, that's a funny story. Okay, so then what happened next? Oh, so then I had another baby. This is baby Dave. And at that point, we were getting moved to Yokota Air Base in Japan. My husband was travel counsel. So he was going to be servicing all over Japan, Korea, Alaska, Hawaii. And baby Dave grew up to be that. He's 17 now. And he's a junior just like you guys, right? He's out in Albany. Are you from Gilderley?
Yeah.
Awesome. What's your name?
Julia Davidoff.
Are you?
in Viola.
Okay. Julia, are you so happy he cut his hair? Do you remember the Dave waves?
I don't remember when he had long hair.
He used to have this tsunami that kind of came up. Are you in the cross country team at all? Or
No, I know, like,
he's pretty funny, right?
yeah.
No.
U.S. history class.
U.S. history. Oh wait, what was your teacher?
Rudolph.
Ruth, she's awesome, right? Yay, go Gilderley! Okay, so then I had Dave, and when I had Dave, I was like, okay, I've got Hank Pup and I got Dave. I really don't see, this is one of the things Susan asked me, she's like, how do you manage family and career? Well, personally for me, I knew how hard I had to work at my job. It was going to be too much. So at that point, I decided I was going to stay home. But I did not get out of the Air Force altogether. I got into the Guard, or excuse me, the Reserves. And I'm still in the Reserve component. So after 5.5 years, I got out of the active duty and I went to the Reserve component. I've been doing that for 16 years, and I have been so busy still. And I've still progressed in my career, and it's been awesome. So that's how I balanced it. I chose to do mostly the at-home stuff. And this is the whole crew. Noelle, she's down here in the front. She's in the middle there with Hanky Pup. And then I had Noelle, and then I had Nate too. So he's my little guy. That's the four kids. So yeah, too much to try to do a full-time for me. There are some people who can do it. I don't know how they do it, but they're amazing. Okay, so like she said, what I did was I transferred to the Reserve, and when I was in Japan, I got to work with 5th Air Force, and I did international environmental law issues, so I ended up getting to do some environmental things after all. That was awesome. I worked with the battle staff at U.S. Forces Japan, and I got to work on exercises where I was looking at targeting issues and helping the operators deal with their operations orders and whatever they were supposed to do as far as airdrops in a fictional other country. And while we were there, we traveled around Japan, and we traveled to Hawaii back and forth a couple of times, and that's pretty much what we did when we were there. And, you know, like I said, I still got to progress in my career even on the reserve side. So in the middle here, this is Major General Cassie Strom. She is currently the Air National Guard Advisor to the Judge Advocate General of the Air Force. She's a friend of mine. And the one, because she took over for Major General Turley, he's a friend of mine also. And I worked as his executive officer. Even though I was home with my kids, no one could tell you, I was always on the computer, I was always on the phone. I tried to be there for them, but I was still really busy going back and forth to Washington, D.C., to Texas, to Virginia, to Colorado, to Georgia. So it turned out to be a great way to balance life and family for me. So then we did move to Virginia, and in 2001, of course, you guys were all 4, right? You guys were 4 years old in 2001. We lived in Virginia, and my husband had air operations experience. So he had worked in the Combined Air Operations Center, which mostly means that he dealt with targeting issues and dealing with foreign countries when we were in conflict. He was sent to Korea, and at that time, that's when we moved up to Guilderland, when my husband went to Korea. So I took the 4 kids and came up to Guilderland, and he went to Korea, and that's when I moved into the reserves, to the Guard, and have been with Stratton International Guard Base ever since. So this is my unit now, and who knows what kind of penguins these are? Biologists? Adelaide, yay! So what we do at the 109th Airlift Wing is we support the National Science Foundation and the U.S. Antarctic Program. This is the C-130, the LC-130. They have skis underneath. And that is us loading a portion of one of the big telescopes that are down there. I'm not sure if it's part of the BISAT 2 or if it's the South Pole telescope. And those telescopes are aimed, the South Pole has a really, really clear sky. There's the least cosmic dust over the South Pole, so you can see pretty far into space. And they're looking actually right now for evidence of expansion post the Big Bang. So they're looking for certain types of, they call them B waves, and supposedly there's proof of it, but they're not quite sure. It's questionable. But anyhow, so that's us taking part of the telescope down, and we support these guys, and they stay all winter long. These scientists, I mean, they're a little bit, it's a little crazy down there all winter long. I don't know how they do it. Okay. All right, so we also have a wartime mission, and this is me in the middle, practicing, being a wartime attorney. With my paralegal on the left, and then my friend Jody on the right. She's our public affairs officer. So, we have to practice if they call us, to deploy in times of war. And this involved us wearing our full chem gear for, 10 hours and breathing in a mask. And it's not easy. And I've never been deployed. I have a tremendous amount of respect for anybody who has to go through that. So there's definitely a very difficult side to being in the military. I don't know what our time is right now, but I do have a small video that kind of just shows my wing, and it shows the different things that they do. So let's see. How do I smallify this? Small. So this is my wing, and it's just a short publicly released video, and it'll show everything we do. And there's also, you'll notice there's 2 female 06 women commanders at my base.